Well, I'm right in the middle of this measurement session here. Just completed the first or the initial measurement on this fixture. This client has got some datum pins and pads and some rests and stops all over this fixture that are used to locate parts before they actually assemble them together. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to add some shims or take some shims out and make this as close to nominal as we can. So what I'd like to do now, though, is I want to make a report for my client with some labels on it that will be almost like a road map, so they can see where the dimensions were taken and what those dimension amounts were. And in X here, that's a very nice feature. If I was to go under Review Features, and then from Screen, I'm going to pick this dimension here up in the front of this fixture. I'll just highlight on the leader line here, and I'll call it the width at the middle. That's the one I'm going to pick up on. Right mouse click to get back into Review Features. Okay, that was the last dimension that I actually calculated, called width at middle. And what it's doing is it's got a plus or minus 5 thousandths tolerance, and I'm about 50 thou outside of that. So definitely we want to add some shims to that. Or in this case, we want to take some shims out to make that a little bit smaller. Okay, but I'd like to show that to the client. So what I'd like to do is come here to Labels, and then turn the display of that label on. So if I enable that by clicking in the box here, it will turn a label on for that feature. So down through here now, there's a lot of options that you've got for putting into your label. And I'll show you a couple of them here. If I flip the icon on, shows a little caliper down here, shows that it was a constructed measured distance or a measured dimension. And then show the created here, which is just the ID, the sequence on when that point was taken. This tolerance bar will show if it's in or out of tolerance with a green or a red or a yellow bar right at the front here. And here's the label, which is the name that you're calling it, with that middle. Here's the actual, that's the dimension that I want to display, which is only in the Y component, which is side to side on the fixture. The vector I don't care so much about. The nominal, though, that'll show the nominal that I'm comparing the Y dimension to. So I do care about that. And here's the deviation, where it will display the Y component deviation away from the nominal. And the tolerance here. If I click on that, it'll show me what tolerance we're using as criteria for testing. So maybe I don't want the tolerance on there. I'll just take a look at those three right there. But now notice, if I hit the View right now, it actually shows the label as it would appear on your screen here, on your picture. So I'm going to right mouse click on that and get back to Review Features here. And I'm going to say OK to that. Now what I can do is just grab a hold of this label here. I will click with my left mouse key, and I can move it around a little bit. It actually brings that label around to wherever you want it, but it keeps the leader line still attached to it, showing my dimension. So I like that. That makes it look pretty nice as to what that dimension was tested against, what I measured it as, and what the deviation is, so I don't have to do the math. And it's showing this red bar here, which means that it's outside of the tolerance that we have specified on that dimension. All right, so I'll zoom out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go into this little area down here that's the two rests or the two stops here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on that. And then what I'll do is I'll hit the Enter key, which in X pulls up the last command. And then I'm going to go from Screen. Since I can't remember quite what I named these 2 points here. Right mid, upper 1. And there's my right mid, upper 2. I'm going to take and hit the right mouse key to go back into Review Features. And my client wanted to know what I labeled those as well. So I'll go to the Labels tab here. I'll display that on. Okay, I've got a couple of those checked already in my label here. I like the icon. I like the tolerance bar. I love the label. Of course, that's the main thing that I like to display. I like to show what I named the thing. And then I've got the actual and the nominal that I'm testing it up against. Since that was a surface point, I was just doing a surface point inspection to, of course, I would expect my nominal to be 0. So what I'm going to do is I will deselect the nominal there. and I will say OK. And notice that I've got both of them highlighted, so whatever I choose here under the display will associate to both of those picked points. I'll say OK to that. Now I can highlight one and move it around a little bit here. Take this one, move it around a little bit here. All right, so there you go. There I've got a couple of those points, and I've got this width at the middle. The width at the middle is only associated to this top point here, but what I like to do is I like to put a couple points on that rest just to make sure that they're showing the same type of deviation. This one's showing 27 thou, this one's showing about 20 thou. So that kind of makes sense. Those were a plastic or a hard nylon stop, so that deviation I can accept. But if I would have noticed a measured distance or a deviation that would have been much different between these 2 points, I might have erased both of them and shot them both again just to make sure they were consistent. So what I'll do now is I'll zoom out just a little bit more here. And what I like to do for my client is I'll put this thing into a view that's very obvious where these points were taken. So this is the front of his fixture, so it makes sense where these points were taken and what I've named them. So when I hand off a graphical text report or a report that's in an MHT format, I will also hand him a roadmap like this that will be a quick look at the same points, but it'll show just a couple of those pieces of information as well. What I usually like to do too is I like to fire up this package called Snagit, which is just a screen capture program from TechSmith. We use this all the time for PowerPoint presentations or just grabbing screen dumps and putting them into Word documents or any kind of other documentation. So I would just hit capture here and maybe grab this section here. And then there is my screen dump inside of this Snagit capture. But I could save that as a JPEG or even send it to a clipboard and just copy it into a PowerPoint presentation. So that's a great way of taking your measured data and putting labels on it for reporting capabilities here in X.